Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Love Procurement Podcast. My name is Kelly Barner, and I'll be your host for this conversation. Today, I'm glad to welcome Ted Nordquist to the show. Ted is the CEO of Sourcian Partner, a professional services firm based in Sweden. So, hi, Ted. I'm so glad to have you with me today.
Hello, and thanks for having me in the Love Procurement Podcast.
We like to start all of these conversations off by learning a little bit more about our guest. So, would you mind starting us off by talking a little bit about your professional background?
Yes, I'm, as you said, a founder and CEO of Sourcian Partner, and we are helping all types of different companies and industries, both in Sweden and worldwide, with procurement services. I have a background in automotive industry where the competitiveness is very tough at the moment and in the past.
Yeah, no, I've definitely heard that. I haven't personally worked in automotive. My background is in retail. And what I've sort of come to understand over time is that the pressure and the margins that automotive feels on the direct side of procurement are not entirely unlike the pressure and the competitiveness that retail feels on the not for resale side. Given that you've been in procurement for a while, clearly you've chosen to focus here, having founded your own company. What's something that you love about procurement?
Procurement is my passion. It's a central function in most companies, and it's a place where you have a great impact on business of the company, and it's very fun. And right now it's happening a lot of development in this area, where you play a vital role for a company's success in several ways. It's problem solving, risk management, cost management, challenging markets, building supplier relationships, but overall, a lot of opportunities.
Absolutely. Now, when you and I last spoke in preparation for today, you had mentioned just the sheer level and scale of change we've seen globally over the last few years. Are there a few events that stand out as having had particularly significant impact?
Yes, of course. The pandemic was one thing. Then there was this war that we're seeing right now in Russia and Ukraine, above all. And also other geopolitical risks, inflation, recession. So it's the last 5 years, I would say, is very critical, and it has been very fast changing on the market for procurement.
Now, when we think about those events, certainly they enter into procurement's work through even just the market conditions that we're facing. But do you think they fundamentally change how procurement operates, or just the larger conditions that we're working within?
I would say both. There are conditions now that we have to deal with, but I would say that procurement has fundamentally changed also. For a long time, procurement has been seen as a reactive and reduced cost function, sourcing in low-cost countries, for example, where logistic cost has been very cheap.
Yes.
Now we need to mitigate risks and also have more focus on quality and delivery. It also contains work with sustainability requirements. Track where parts and material is coming from is very important. So it's a new role for procurement. We're playing a more important and strategic role in companies today.
Yeah. What are some of the main focus areas that you and your team are looking at right now?
Well, it's risk management, it's AI, sustainability, and competencies.
Yeah, in terms of those competencies, a lot of times we talk about soft skills and technical skills. Let's start with what you're seeing around the technical skills. Which of those, whether it's negotiation, category expertise, right? Knowing how to do the analysis that's so critical to procurement's work. Which of those technical skills are the most in demand right now, or the most important for procurement professionals to have?
Well, it's to deal with the risks, to have them implemented in the strategies, and also to work close with them, not just to change every 5 years. I mean, the environment and the conditions for companies and procurement departments today are very changing. So you need to be aware of the risks for your business.
Yeah.
And also AI, it's a new technique, new technology that needs to be, you need to have the radar on what's coming to be able to adapt and to gain advantages by that.
Yeah.
And also the sustainability skill to work close with suppliers and to work to keep track on material and deliveries. So it's a lot of things to that contains in
Yes.
the procurement role today.
Yeah. Now, what about if we think on the, I always hesitate to use the phrase soft skills because that seems unfair. They're so important, but maybe we think about it in terms of them being interpersonal skills. What are some of the human skills and capabilities that someone in procurement needs to be successful today?
I would say strategic relationships with suppliers. That will be important both now, but also for the future. And that's a soft skill you can train in a system. It's about building a relationship and to create competitiveness and attraction on the market.
Now, with all of this going on, and of course, procurement's managing those relationships you spoke about inside and outside of the organization, challenging market conditions. In some cases, even supply shortage is in question. What is it that usually makes procurement teams or even the organization that they support realize that maybe procurement could use a little bit more help?
Well, it's often when you face a problem or you can't solve it, you don't have time to deal with it, then they reach out for help to us.
Yeah. Is there a connection between, because I talked about sometimes procurement might say, we need a certain skill set or capability. Sometimes where they report up through might say, gee, we're sort of seeing them struggle in this area and go out and try to get some help. Is there a connection between procurement's ability to recognize the need and effectively upskill themselves, either through training or recruiting, and their overall maturity level? Do you need to have a certain level of sophistication to be able to solve your own problem versus having somebody else step in and say, we think you need to strengthen in this area?
Well, I think in larger companies, you have a lot of knowledge today, and you can fix and you can drive changes and development yourself. But to get competences from the outside is also important. So I would see that as a complement for
Absolutely.
your own business.
Yeah.
To get new aspects on things, get different view of the market
Yeah.
from the outside.
Now, when we were talking about some of the larger events that have impacted procurement, certainly back during COVID, there was no question. Procurement supply chain, front lines, bright lights, lots of attention, high priority in the C-suite. With everything, though, things tend to change and soften a little bit. Do you think the C-suite continues to be as aware of how important procurement is to the company's overall ability to succeed? Or do you feel like a little bit of that focus and attention has maybe fallen off as things have stabilized a bit?
I would say that procurement is getting more and more important for most businesses, and it's also taking more seats in the management teams, especially if you're a producing company.
Mm.
And it's also, I was thinking about what we talked about before about the skills and when you take help from someone.
Yeah.
It's not something you do once and to take a course or you take help from
Right.
someone. I think you need to do that all the time, as with any competence, any profession. So, and especially in these times, fast changing times,
Yeah.
and not only procurement, but in the whole company.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things, and this is even from my own experience, that I think procurement struggles with. Certainly, we want attention. We deserve attention. We want influence, and our influence is good for the company. But being self-promoting is a bit of a struggle. And so being able to have the conversation where you say, no, hey, look, we can contribute to this situation. We can help fix this problem. Look at what we managed to do or what we empowered a decision maker within the business to do. Is there a way that procurement can constructively make sure they're communicating their capabilities, their advantages, their accomplishments within the company without crossing that line into where people are getting uncomfortable about being boastful or overly self-promotional, but simply just ensuring awareness throughout the company?
Well, I think you need to look at procurement as a part of the whole company. In many companies, they are isolated, they are run in silo, and also other areas of the company is also in silo. So we need to communicate, cooperate more between the different areas, technical side, production, logistics, so that we gain and can affect the total delivery and the total result of the company.
Yeah. So if I say a piece of that back to you, it's almost like by building lots of cross-functional bridges, we can
Yes.
actually achieve sort of like that high visibility that we're ultimately looking for. We don't necessarily have to go storm down doors in the C-suite and say, hey, look at me. We can just simply be effective consistently across the organization. And hopefully over time, that collectively bubbles up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, we've talked about a lot of the challenges, whether it be geopolitical or market-based or health from the perspective of COVID. We know there will be future disruptions, different forms, things we haven't conceived of, especially when you start to pull in cybersecurity risk and a lot of the other things that have massive cross-society impact. When we think about being a procurement team that wants to be prepared, that is willing to invest in being prepared in advance of something specific going wrong, what is your general advice around what preparedness looks like in a procurement team?
I would say to upskill personnel, the knowledge, the competences, and to have it continuously, not at one time.
Mm,
Because it's changing a lot. It's
yeah.
coming new technology. It's the surroundings, the environment is changing. You need to have efficient digital solutions. AI, it's coming more and more. So you have the tools for quick and fast decisions and deliveries. You need to take control of the market, risk management, to keep a good overview and revise the sourcing strategies often. Build in sustainability in your business, work in close partnership with strategic suppliers, and follow up suppliers frequently.
Mm,
That is what I would recommend. And to be prepared for the future.
yeah. So we've talked about all the different kinds of work that procurement has to do for the organization. There's sustainability, there's risk management, there's always a sourcing project to be run or supplier performance to be managed. If someone listening or watching is actually the head of a procurement team and they're trying to balance out, how do I accomplish all of these different organizational goals at the same time carving out some time for investing in the team, evaluating procurement's preparedness, looking at skill sets, figuring out gaps that need to be closed? Do you have any advice around balancing the work of procurement for the organization and balancing a little bit of time thinking about procurement themselves so that they're ready to keep delivering in all of these different areas?
Yeah, I think it's if you realize that you need to do maybe everything, but it's impossible to do everything at the same time. So, but to start is, gather the data, get the structure. Let's see how you're prepared for the the future challenges within supplier base, or in the data that you have. What kind of skills do you have? How does the categories look like? The strategies look like? If you don't have a strategy, start with a strategy, a simple one. Sustainability requirements. If just to start with it, it's not to be done everything to be done immediately, but you can start with it, especially if you're developing maybe new products. Take the requirements from the start, so in the development phase, so that you in the future you will have more and more sustainable products.
Yeah. So, Ted, we like to finish all of these conversations by staying on theme with the Love Procurement podcast and share a little bit of love with our listeners, with our viewing audience. What final piece of advice would you like to leave everybody with?
There's a lot of problems and crises that are taking focus right now around the world and in Europe. In different times, there are also opportunities, and that is what I want procurement staffs and departments to focus on. You have very good opportunities now to increase the competitiveness and resilience of your company by working strategic in procurement. And it's not too late to start now. It's on the table. Go for it.
Excellent. And I do think it's important that, yes, we face challenges, right? But remembering that we have opportunities to act, there are ways to be a positive influence in our companies. Procurement is very well positioned for that. Ted, if people are meeting you for the first time through this conversation and they would like to learn more or reach out and connect, what is the best way for them to contact you?
Well, I have an account on LinkedIn, and I can also be available on our homepage, via our homepage, sourcian.se.
Excellent. Ted, thank you so much for being with me today to have this conversation.